Now,
Welcome, everybody, to this Thursday, October 31st, Halloween edition of Keystroke Live. Today, we have from Merchant Warehouse, Maggie Crowley, Melanie Gard, and Colin Toomey, who are connected with Keystroke and Merchant Warehouse. And we will talk about the Genius device, which there, I've got it tuned in that you can see, and hopefully you got to hear from Jay last week, who gave a demonstration of how it works and setting it up. So without further ado, I will hand it off to Maggie, Melanie, and Colin. And I am going to leave everybody unmuted to see how it works. If it gets noisy, I'll work on getting the right people muted.
All right. I just want to say a quick thank you for joining us this morning. You know, just so you know, obviously Mel, Colin, and myself are here to support you guys in anything that you need. So you can send us an email with our contact information. And Melanie here is kind enough to actually do the presenting for us today. So it's all you, Mel.
Hi, everybody. Thanks again for being here as well. We appreciate it. I know that you've all kind of heard about Genius over and over again at this point. We want to give you more of a selling overview of Genius at this point. You've gotten the technology overview, you've gotten the general overview, so we just kind of want to give you some tips and some more information on actually selling Genius to your customers. So to get started, basically, starting with flexibility, there's a couple different angles that we generally look at Genius from. And, you know, obviously Genius accepts all payment types. So all traditional, mobile, and contactless payments, you're covered with Genius. Merchants never have to turn away a paying customer regardless of how they want to pay that day. It's an EMV-ready solution, so you know that's going to be something that's going to come up in 2015. If your merchants get it set up with Genius today, they're going to be ready for it. They're ahead of the game.
Hey Mel, are you in slideshow mode? Is everyone seeing the slides appropriately?
It looks like we're on slide 11.
Okay, yeah, Mel, you want to start just with, I believe, slide 3, if we're on flexibility, and just do that, yeah, from the beginning. Start your slideshow there.
And maybe hit F5.
We got tech support on the line.
Okay, so are you seeing, you're not just seeing the security screen right now? I'm not sure what you guys are seeing.
No, we can see the notes and your full screen.
Okay, I don't know why that's happening. All right, hang on just a second.
This is Melanie's inbox. By the way, my name is Colin Toomey. I work hand in hand with Melanie. Melanie's her territory is the southern part of the country, and mine is the northern. So I'll be reaching out to a good half you, anyways. After the show is over here and the presentation is wrapped up. So I know that you've gotten a chance to meet Melanie, but thanks for having me, and I look forward to working with you guys.
Sorry, guys, I'm just having some technical difficulties here, but I should be back in a second.
Everyone is so quiet.
Alan, tell a joke.
There you go.
Okay, I think I'm back in business, guys. Sorry about that. Okay.
All right, perfect.
So as far as security goes, as we all know, Genius takes the point of sale out of PA-DSS scope. So you have tokenization and end-to-end encryption, which is obviously really important, and a reduced potential of card-based fraud because the customer is actually either using, swiping their own card or using their own phone to pay. So that's obviously important. As far as access goes, Genius provides the merchant with a different level of access to their system. Since the software is cloud-based, the merchant can actually update and change their device from a central location. So that's obviously going to simplify things for them from a business standpoint. And merchants have access to the App Store. So they basically can, choose which payment types and change payment types through that App Store as much as they please. You don't have to go in and help them every time they need to change something, which is obviously important for everybody. And then the other thing we always talk about is the fact that Genius is future-proof. So it's covering the merchant today for whatever they need, but it's also covering the merchant down the line. They're not going to have to swap out hardware. They're not going to have to add anything. They're going to be all set to go, no matter what comes up in the future. As far as growth goes, so with Genius, the merchant can offer different loyalty rewards programs, retention programs, coupons, and offers. And again, it's really up to the merchant to kind of choose what they want to have on their specific device. Every merchant's going to be different, and every merchant's going to have different marketing and advertising needs and all of that. So essentially, it's a scalable solution, which is great. As far as just some general Genius product features and benefits for the merchant, obviously, as we know, simply it's a customer-facing device with the built-in PIN debit, but it also obviously accepts all current and future payment types. So down the line, when new mobile payments emerge, if those are ones that stick around, we can get them added to Genius. The merchant can choose to accept those payment types if they want to. EMV and NFC capable. BIN Smart, something I'll talk about in the next slide. QR applications, obviously a lot of mobile payments are QR-based. Includes the digital signature capture, as I mentioned. Merchants can accept gift cards. Retail with tip. They can actually also offer cash back to their customers. And again, the cloud-based software with the remote device management. So again, touching on BIN Smart, this is something that we had kind of gone over with you guys out in Vegas, but just to go over it again, merchants generally are not going to know what's going to be most cost effective, whether they're supposed to run a debit card with a PIN or just run it as credit. They probably don't even know that, a lot of them probably don't know that, depending on which option they choose, they can actually save some money. So BIN Smart is a technology that Merchant Warehouse developed several years ago, and it actually allows the system to recognize whether the card is going to be less expensive if the merchant prompts for, or if the device prompts for a PIN number. It calculates it based on the merchant's pricing. It takes a bunch of different factors into consideration, and if it's going to be less expensive, it'll prompt for a PIN. So this is something that you can offer to your merchants to offer them an immediate cost savings. They don't have to do anything. This is simply going to save them money based on BIN Smart. And this is an exclusive technology to Merchant Warehouse and Genius. As far as, we'll touch on EMV as well. So that is something that, again, we have to address by 2015. It's the global standard for payment acceptance. Obviously, in the U.S., we're not really seeing it today, but it's something that we're going to have to address down the line. Your merchants are going to be covered today. They don't have to ask questions. They don't have to upgrade their hardware. In a year and a half, they're going to be all set to go. As far as NFC, obviously NFC stands for near field communication. It's a major driver for mobile payments. So with the Genius device, the customer basically just taps their phone to the glass to process that transaction. This is obviously the technology behind a lot of mobile payments, so it's important. Very quick transaction. So all covered for NFC. As far as mobile payments go, obviously we hear a lot about them, but a lot of merchants don't really know too much. Maybe they're in a smaller area where they're not seeing a lot of people paying with their phones or things like that. But at the end of the day, mobile payments are growing at an astronomical rate. More and more people are wanting to pay with their smartphones. There's been a ton of studies done. So it's something that we have to address. And Genius obviously can accept both NFC payments and any QR-based application. So if anyone wants to pay with a phone or use any other mobile payment that comes down, in the future that sticks around, we'll be working with that company. We'll be adding it to the Genius device, and it'll be an option for the merchant. As far as who's a good target for Genius, again, any retail brick-and-mortar merchant with an IP connection where their customers are swiping transactions. So anybody who wants to really stay ahead of the game as far as mobile payments, they just kind of want to be covered. They don't want to have to deal with all the confusion. Anyone wants to prepare for EMV acceptance. Again, maybe it's not an issue today, but down the line, your merchants don't want to have to upgrade equipment, so that's important. And particularly for merchants in cities or merchants with a younger demographic, those are the kids that are going to come in and want to be using these different payment types. So, it's important that the merchant is covered for that. As far as, again, a good target customer for you for Genius, any retail storefront, quick serve restaurants as well. We name a couple different business types here: doctors and dentists, amusement, convenience and grocery, pharmacy, liquor stores. Any, brick and mortar business is a good target for Genius. Another thing we just want to kind of touch on is, again, how do you get the conversation started with merchant? How do you start talking to them about Genius in a way that's going to kind of make sense and start kind of the wheels turning for them? So, again, have they done anything to prepare for EMV? Do they know what it is? Are they, ready to, upgrade hardware if it comes down the line? So, PIN debit, obviously, that's a big one. Merchants do know about PIN debit, and Genius will allow them to accept it. How do they separate their business from the competition? Or does their competition already offer loyalty and rewards programs and they're not? So these are just kind of questions that you can kind of ask the merchant to gauge where they're at with everything. And at the end of the day, Genius is going to kind of provide that competitive advantage, give them a leg up on the competition, because it's offering all these things that most, regular merchants are not going to be able to accept. As far as how Genius can benefit you as a dealer, there's really no solution like this anywhere else in the industry. So right there you have a competitive advantage against your competition, because no one else is going to be able to offer this. It's also, a sticking feature. You have someone coming in trying to, maybe get the merchant onto a different software, whatever the case may be. Merchants using Genius, that other company is not going to be able to change that device out. They're not going to be able to reprogram it. This is a merchant warehouse technology. You're also covering your merchants for things as they change down the road. Your merchants, again, they're not going to have to upgrade hardware. You're not going to be going in and, trying to resell them on equipment or get them set up for EMV. They're all set to go. So it's a great selling feature for merchants. Obviously, the security factor is huge as well, something that you could talk about, and just to really be seen as a solutions provider. As far as Keystroke appealing to Genius appealing to Keystroke merchants, again, just kind of the basics: digital signature capture, PIN debit, customer-facing device, and the SKU display. Obviously, we talked about security a little bit, but it's a more secure alternative to payment processing. EMV in and of itself reduces card fraud. It's a PADSS compliant solution and removes the POS from PADSS scope. So again, we talked about the card never, or the phone never leaving the customer's hands, so that makes the transaction more secure as well. And that is pretty much it. So, again, we have just a fully integrated solution that's going to provide the merchant with unlimited payment acceptance no matter how their customers want to pay. It's cloud-based. They can update it as much or as little as they want to, and it's secure. So that's obviously one of the most important features. But we really just want to make sure that you're feeling confident in talking about Genius to your customers and realizing, why we developed it and why we think it's so important and why we really think that it's going to give you that competitive advantage, in selling merchant warehouse and, getting the merchant account in the door and all of that. So, again, if you have any questions at all, please reach out to us. We're happy to do additional trainings or talk to you more, whatever the case may be. So. That's it. Thank you.
You guys have any questions?
If anyone has any questions, you can either type it in or, since we're unmiked, go right ahead.
And everybody should be unmuted.
This is Chris. I have a question on the pricing.
Yeah.
So if a customer has 8 terminals, point-of-sale terminals, and they need 8 devices, you said it's $19.95 a month per terminal?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. And it sounds like, and I'm sorry I missed last week's presentation, so I might be overstepping here a little bit, but they can have it programmed for as much or as little as they want. Is that what I'm understanding here?
Yeah, so the idea is that, as these emerging forms of payments come out, they're going to be able to download those to their device. So it's a cloud-based solution, and they're going to be able to choose which loyalty programs they want, whether that be PayPal, Level Up, ISIS, Google Wallet, whatever the case may be. They're going to be able to decide what they want to accept.
And does the price change as they download more apps, more?
Right now, no. Will that change down the road? That's really hard for us to say. But we really want to keep it just covered underneath that $19.95 a month charge.
Okay, and then is there a minimum amount of time that they have to use the device? So if they use it for a couple of months and say, I really don't like this, is there a commitment to them for that?
It is. It's a 3-year commitment for the device. Right off the bat, they're going to have PIN debit. They're going to have the device itself is actually worth about $1,000.
Right.
So, and then the services on top of that. I think that it's going to be more and more relevant as these emerging forms of payments come out. But right now, there's already a real benefit for that, in terms of being out of scope, in terms of being EMV ready, and in terms of PIN debit, BIN steering, BIN smart, all that. There is a huge value to it already, but certainly thinking down the road, it's going to be more relevant than it is now.
You're also saving money. Sorry to interrupt. You're also saving money with the digital signature capture. So you're saving on printing on receipt paper.
Oh, yeah.
And you're obviously, the merchant there's a cost savings for the merchant with the pin steering, as Colin was mentioning.
And could you just explain a little bit more that bin steering?
Sure. So we have an algorithm that basically determines if the customer is going to be, if the merchant's going to save more if they do signature debit versus PIN debit. So the PIN debit is when they enter in their PIN code. That comes with a transaction fee with a small percentage on top of that, whereas the signature capture is run like a credit card transaction, and it really does the math for the transaction and leads the customer to which one is going to be more economical for the merchant.
So when the customer swipes their card, the software will determine what's going to be more economical for the merchant.
For the merchant, exactly. So typically if it's a larger transaction, PIN debit is going to save the merchant money because it's just a flat transaction fee and a smaller percentage. And then with a lower transaction, it makes more sense to run it as a credit transaction. So the breaking point, I think, last we checked, it was right around like $33, but it'll actually calculate that for each transaction and guide the customer to the transaction that's going to cost the merchant less.
And can they so if they say it's under $33, it's going to say it should be a signature capture, correct? Is that what you, yeah.
Right.
And therefore it would prompt them for a signature as opposed to a PIN.
Right. Now, can the customer say, excuse me, I wanted to do PIN debit? That rarely happens these days. They'll typically just want to get out of the line as soon as possible and sign their signature. But yes, they can override it. They can cancel the transaction out and have them do it as PIN debit. So the customer does have that option. But at the same time, I mean, 90% of the time, I'd argue they're probably just going to do what's prompted and move on.
Right. Okay.
One neat little tool is that it. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
One other tool that I've found, we actually have a customer that is also a reseller of ours, so he's been a great source of feedback for me. He actually mentioned that in his store, what he does is has that it prompt for the customer's email address. So from a marketing standpoint, they're actually getting valuable information from their customers, and they can send them, specials, any kind of coupons, etc. So that was wasn't really totally part of our plan. But a lot of retailers have come back to us and said that they like being able to capture that information to stay in touch and have a better relationship with their customer.
Okay, and that's actually can be programmed to prompt for that?
Yep, it can be prompted at the point of signature. They can choose to enter their email in.
Or they can choose not to?
Exactly.
Okay. And a question for Nick. Are you still there, Nick?
Yes, I am.
Okay. I was just wondering, when do you think you're going to get Jay's presentation from last week up on the web?
Well, there were a few sensitive pieces of information in there, test account numbers that we need to remove from the video before we can put it up there.
Okay, very good.
And I'm just waiting on those guys to let me know which pieces need to be either blurred or removed before we can post it publicly.
Okay, thank you. I'm all done. Somebody else.
All right. Thanks for asking the question.
Thank you very much.
And so everybody knows, hopefully, if I get all my layers right, we do have a SBS Keystroke Genius flyer, white paper. So if you'd like this, just give us a call and we can get it to you. It should be in the dealer area of the website pretty soon, too.
Make that this morning. I'll let it do it this morning.
Great.
Any other questions for us? Two questions. We got off easy, I think.
If you guys have any questions that come up later on, feel free to email us, call us, whatever you feel most comfortable with. We're here. So.
Well, thank you, Maggie, Colin, and Mel, for being here today and providing us with great information. We appreciate the time. And everybody attending, remember, same time, same place next week. And we will hear from Michael Gebb on, what will that be, Thursday the 7th? So everybody have a good day and a great weekend.
All right, thanks a lot.
Thank you.